there might be not enough nectar available in your local area to really support your colony, and you might want to give them a substitute, which is a sugar syrup. Now, there are two very common ways of internally feeding your bees. The first is with what we call a top feeder. So I'm just going to take the lid. This is actually a flow hive, and it's a flow hive brood box with 8 frames in it, which is the 6 flow frame version. And I'll just take the lid off, I'll take the inner cover off, and you'll see here I've actually got a top feeder on it. Now, this top feeder is a product by Ecrotek. It's called a Hive Doctor Top Feeder. It actually fits 9.5 litres of sugar syrup in this top area here, and the bees actually access the sugar syrup from below. So the benefit of a top feeder is you don't have to take the full lid off the hive to be able to feed the bees. Even in the middle of winter, you can take the lid off, but you're not actually opening the hive. You're just accessing the reservoir in the middle here. And the beauty of this is it's only accessible by your bees. It's an internal feeder. It encloses a very large volume of sugar syrup, which would last normally several weeks for your bees, so you don't have to keep topping it up, and you're not interrupting the bees or opening the lid every time you need to fill it up. So love the top feeders. I actually would recommend them. These are around about $23, $24 plus delivery. They're not overly expensive, and they would fit the hive perfectly, even if you had a Langstroth hive, as long as it was at the right size. So you've got to get, obviously if it's an 8 frame colony, you need an 8 frame feeder. So 10 frame, you need a 10 frame feeder. So obviously make sure you get the right size, but the top feeders are definitely the way to go. Another alternative that some people use is what we call a frame feeder. So it's another internal feeding option. A frame feeder tends to look something like this, where basically it replaces a frame. So you take out one frame, put the frame feeder in, obviously fill it up with sugar syrup. And the beauty of these frame feeders is they actually have, a good one will have a little sort of like a ladder for the bees to climb down, so that when they are eating, they're not going to drown in the actual sugar syrup. And yes, you put it in like that, and as I said, literally replaces a frame. Disadvantage is you actually are taking the full lid off your hive to fill it up. It really only holds a fairly small amount of sugar syrup, nowhere near 9.5 litres. You know, you'd be lucky if it had a couple of litres in there, and you will have to top it up quite frequently. So at least it's an inner feeder. It's feeding the bees from the inside rather than from the outside. But yeah, I don't really like these anymore. You really have to take the lid off, and they don't hold much sugar syrup, and you are actually replacing a frame, which they could be building out with honeycomb and using to store resources. So not a big fan of the internal feeders. Better than nothing, but would prefer a top feeder. There is a fantastic product that I've been trialling recently that I'd not used up until this year, called Vitahive Brood Booster. Now, if you are looking to boost your population of bees, really increase their nutrition, it's going to obviously support their health generally, this is an incredible product that I've found works very well. Now, there's a lot of science gone into this. I would suggest you read their website for all the instructions around how to use it, but essentially it's a supplement that you add a small amount for around this size feeder. It's roughly about 100 mils, so you don't need a lot of it to do a full feed, but I've been blown away with the results. Incredible outcome. Literally, I'm seeing brood wall to wall. Massive increases in population of bees when they get the right nutrition. And I think while the sugar syrup gives them the energy and the carbohydrates, a supplement like this can really help as well. Strongly recommend it.